Sixth director on the line. Let's see, it is October 20th, 2022 at 7:32 p.m. Tracy, could we have a roll call, please?
Okay. Director Boyd?
Here.
Director Decker?
Here.
Director Harvey?
Here.
Director Lohman?
Here.
Director Slater-Carter?
Present.
Okay. Well, let's see. For president's statement, I'm just going to say, well, you never know when the fog's going to be super thick. And last night I was coming home and it was super thick. And it reminds me, at our last meeting, we were talking about there are times when it's appropriate to slow down. Just a reminder to myself to slow down when it gets that thick. It was crazy thick when I rolled into town last night. But it's a good place to live. People ask me why I live here. And I'm like, you know, it's a happy place to come back to after a day of work. It's just beautiful and full of good people. So speaking of which, let's get to the business of the people here. Do we have any comments for items that are not on the agenda? I see Catherine.
Yep. Last night, the Chamber of Commerce held a candidates forum in Half Moon Bay, and the two candidates for the Board of Supervisors were present. I recommend watching it just for that. We don't need, and listening to the comments, the general questions that were responded to by all the candidates was also very interesting. But and you can watch it on YouTube if you go to the Half Moon Bay Chamber of Commerce candidates forum, and it was the date of it was October 19, 2022. The other part that I would recommend for this board watching it is Chris Michelson was the moderator. So he was making some interesting comments about CCWD. One of the things they have on their agendas is they're going to be doing $70 million worth of infrastructure improvements. $70 million for 20,000 people. That's a whole lot, and we may want to keep an eye on it. But we're going to be hearing about that in many ways. And he also brought up some other comments. They are now having board meetings in their boardroom, but they're doing it as a hybrid with Zoom or other for people who don't want to personally attend. So anyway, I do recommend watching this. There were some very interesting parts, and it takes only about an hour for that. It's not a terribly long event. So thank you.
Did you say 70 million?
Let me see. 700000000. Yes.
Wow.
Okay. Well, probably not going to spend it on the boardroom. They've already got a decent one. I like their boardroom. I wish ours was as nice, but it is what it is. Okay, do we have any other comments for items not on the agenda?
Ours has a better view.
That is for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let me get back to there we go. All right, well, let's go then to new business. Item 1, information related to launch of district's Nextdoor page.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. So we actually have a new situation at Nextdoor. They now allow actually public agencies like ours. Other public agencies were allowed before, but special districts can now also sign up and essentially get a page, an account. And so we applied, went through the process, were successful, and essentially have now a Nextdoor page that we can launch and start posting. So we're going to essentially let everybody know that this is the case. We're going to be very selective in what we plan on posting. Essentially, 2 types of materials that we're posting. One is essentially outreach materials that is on our website. So if we go through a specific, let's say, for example, the bi-monthly newsletters would be posted, or if we have a specific meeting that is there to highlight something, a specific workshop or so, we can point to that. But in general, this is something where comments are closed. So this is information going out. The second type of information that we're trying to utilize is in cases of emergencies. And we'll have to see how that works for us. But the idea is that we could post on Nextdoor if we have a water outage in a certain area and let folks know what we understand about the situation at this time. So that's what the plan is at this point. We're hoping to be able to launch this very soon here, November 1st. And that's pretty much it. I'm just going to ask Allison, is there anything else I forgot? Please jump in.
Sure. I'll just add a few stats there. We do have the page ready to go. We're just working on getting a posting policy and getting training or a quick posting sheet so that if there is the situation where staff would need to post something, we're all clear and they have access, and we give them a little bit of training, which is why we're aiming for November 1st. As Clemens said, we'll put up the newsletter certainly on a regular basis and other materials, but we are trying to manage to make sure it doesn't get too prolific. We want to be selective in posting, but materials that are of benefit and already sort of produced materials. And also just making sure, as Clemens mentioned, we're just going to post. We're going to utilize the email and phone number of the district as the regular mechanism for people to contact the district with questions. We don't want to produce a secondary or tertiary sort of mechanism where staff or myself would need to check that. So we're going to just maintain that. And the last thing I'd say is I looked at some of the stats that are up there. So it's about 4,500 members in the district's designated area. They did take a GIS map of the service area and basically overlay it. There's 4 different neighborhoods, Montara, Moss Beach, Pillar Ridge, and Princeton by the Sea is also included in the area if we needed to select it, or we can post to just the other 3. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to this. I don't know if we tried previously because other public agencies, water districts I'm aware of had Nextdoor accounts, pages, and we were denied previously. So this is a recent change that we're kind of quite happy, and now we will be able to post directly. So happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, comments? Catherine?
I just want to say once again, we are the first. At the candidates forum last night, other districts were talking about having good websites, and I just didn't brag about we were the first in so many in videoing our meetings and our website and so many other things and here we are yet again leading the charge. Thank you very much, staff and board and public.
Okay. Any further comments? Let's go to item 2, discuss possible changes to director meeting compensation.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. This was a request from Catherine. So this agency here pays $75 per meeting to the elected officials. And so I didn't look at a comparison in other agencies at this point, but there is an understanding, I think also with the directors on comparable agencies, what they pay. And that is all more than $75. I'm not aware of any other agency, at least in the Bay Area, that is paying only $75. And this has not changed for at least 2 decades. And that's only as far as I can look back. It could be very well 3 decades or more that this has not changed. If the board is deciding to change this number today, then there are some things that we have to watch out for. And I put here some language that I got to make sure that Christine is backing this up. I'm not quite 100% sure if this is all correct, but it's my understanding that at this point, under the Health and Safety Code, the compensation should not exceed $100 per day. But the water code sections allow the governing boards, and that includes sanitary district boards, to provide compensation in excess of $100 per day. But those increases can only go up 5% for each calendar year. So it's my understanding that this would essentially mean that the board could raise the compensation level very simply to $100. Everything beyond that would be a bit more complicated or potentially could take time. Again, if there is a change, then we would like to ask legal counsel to review and prepare an ordinance for what is possible for approval also at a subsequent meeting. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
As a treasurer, I think $100, an increase to $100 is appropriate.
I make a motion to increase the pay by up to $100.
If I may add before we go on, Granada is at $145
But we can only increase it.
and has been for quite a while. So we
I-
may want
I
to
don't
look.
think we need to go that far.
I think if you look at when I started, it was $75 a meeting. I think that well, let's just, and so $100 a meeting is, if that is on a per diem, then I could agree with that if that included committee meetings too. But I think we have all been fortunate in our circumstances. But if we're trying to get a broader diversity of folks on the board, I believe compensating people for their time is worthwhile. And I think bringing it up to current 2022 standards is also appropriate. It's been $75 a meeting for a long time, and it used to be that board members, if our meetings were not on the same day as a board meeting, were compensated for the time for that board meeting too, or for that committee meeting. But that was dropped aside when we were in such desperate fiscal straits, getting started with the water, and so on. And I would like to make sure we are up to contemporary standards so we can, I won't say that the money will attract the best, but at least it will help compensate people for their time.
Scott, I'd like to, no one's seconded my motion yet. So before anyone does,
I'd actually like to
amend the motion to be $100 per board meeting, including committee meetings. If someone wants to second that.
I'd like to facilitate the conversation, please. I haven't had anybody wait to be called on yet, and I know it's an interesting topic, but we do have a hand raised from a member of the public. Michelle?
Hi. I did a post a little while ago on co-site stipends. If you want to go to my website, you can look at it. It's under the 2022 election. Filing period is over is the start of the title, election roundup. Half Moon Bay is paying $955 a month. CFPD is paying 2 meetings per month equaling $335, $167 per meeting. Montara, you just said. GCSD is $145 per meeting. CUSD, Career Unified, is monthly compensation. They have 1 meeting of $252. MCC gets nothing. Harbor District gets $7,200 a year. And Coastside County Water receives $150 per board meeting or committee meeting. And the new San Mateo County Farm Worker Advisory Commission will compensate the commissioners with $100 per meeting.
Thank you. Some good collection of numbers. Thank you for doing that work and for sharing it with us. All right. Let's go back to Jim. Let's finish that thought. You were saying you were amending to.
Yeah, I'm amending to be specifically to include.
Okay. Do we have a second or further discussion?
I second.
I'm going to give Peter. So moved by Jim and seconded by Peter. Any further discussion from anyone else? I do have a comment myself, but anyone else first? Okay. I share the concern. I'm thinking if someone is working in any kind of hourly job, taking the time out to attend one of these meetings is going to knock an entire evening out of their work schedule if they work in the evening hours, and could come at some personal cost. And I think it would have some fair portion of the members of our community just go, well, I could never even do that, right? So, and at $75, I don't know that that's going to be the kind of number that is going to, say an entire evening's worth of work would be worth skipping. I do share Catherine's sentiment that it's nice that we can treat this like, for those who are currently serving, that it's nice that it's not a make or break deal. But I think we put a lot of energy in as a team to try to make the public service as a member of the board, a more inviting and even a more top of mind, maybe this is something that I could do for other members of the community. I support the notion of taking it up. I think I want to leave kind of an open question of, do we think 100 is the right kind of number if someone is in that kind of financial condition? Are we providing the incentive that we really believe would actually get past the break point? But if I understand Clemens correctly, taking it to 100 could be, I don't know how we do it. We have discuss and direct staff, so we could say we could bring this back as a simple motion for the next meeting. I don't think we have. I'll just tell you, I'm not sure, and I don't want to ask Christine. Could we do this as a motion tonight, which goes to direct staff, or do we need to have it on an agendized item that allows for taking it?
You're still on mute, Christine.
Could you repeat the last part of your last sentence? I'm sorry, Scott. The sound was bad.
I'm asking, since it's agendized as a discuss possible changes, I'm a little concerned if we try to take a vote tonight that maybe we didn't provide enough clarity in the agenda item. So I'm going to suggest, since I see you nodding, that we bring it back to a subsequent meeting where we can give ourselves the option to consider a motion. It does sound like the sense of the board is very much, let's do the simple thing. Let's go to the limit that doesn't require the more elaborate process. I see hands. So Michelle, I don't know if your hand is still up or if you were up, but I'm going to call on Catherine while you decide. And then after Catherine, Clemens, and Michelle, if your hand's still up, then we'll go to you.
Sam, the committee, operations committee, maybe it was a finance committee, I've forgotten, is moving a motion to the board to make Sam compensation $200 a meeting. And also $200 for each committee meeting. Considering the length of, considering the prep work, I think it's a reasonable thing. GCSD, I remember some years ago when they were changing their compensation, Leonard was talking about there were certain, if it had been a certain amount of time, there was according to him, there was not necessarily a cap, but it was based on a percentage increase over the time since the last increase. So we may want to check into that as well.
I just skimmed over Health and Safety 6489. It's pretty correctly represented here in this staff report.
I'd like to get maybe we could talk to the GCSD attorneys and find out what their opinion, what they did, because apparently you're stuck with that particular change for a number of years, is my recollection. You can't change it year to year, and so I'd like to make sure that we do this fairly and correctly for future boards too.
Steve Clemens, and then Michelle, and then Jim.
I actually lowered my hand. I just wanted to say that this is not an action item. So that to the question if this should come back. And really the reason why I put this up as an action item is because I did not have a chance to really talk to Christine, to our council. So my suggestion is before we go to other councils, let's give Christine a chance to look at this and prepare what can be prepared.
Okay, so Jim, your hand's up.
I would say that it's after being at 75 for 30 years and spending a couple of years not having any compensation. I think it's not complicated. It's very simple, minimal increase within the guidelines. I would suggest that we go ahead and vote at this meeting.
Well, Jim, since we've been advised that it's an information item and not agendized for a vote, I think we need to take our council's guidance and agendize it for the next meeting properly for that. Okay. Catherine?
My other point that I just thought of is that if we look at our budget, we have two sections of our budget and have for a long time, the water budget and the sewer budget. And there are certain salaries that are divided between them. Instead of being stuck just with the sanitary district code, we could also put the board member stipends on each side of our budgets. So it could be $100 per sanitary district, but for water district and for water meetings, it could be a different sum. Just to make things more complex.
Well, just imagine if they did that at the city for each of the different committees.
Well, they get $900 a month.
Yeah, but they've got something like, what, 27 different kinds of responsibilities that they sit on a lot of committees. So not just city committees, but a lot of regional and county too. Okay, well, this has been enlightening. It looks like we all woke up for this one for sure. Let's see. Get back to the top level agenda here. Okay, I think we're going to reports. Sewer Authority Midco side.
There's really not much to report. Our next meeting is on Monday, so the agenda's out. And Rick, I don't know if you have anything to add. Nothing dramatic comes to mind. We're just getting ready for the budget.
Okay, so for the viewing audience, the website is at samcleanswater.org. So that's where the agenda will be found. Let's go Mid-Coast Community Council. Anyone care to speak to that? I mean, you kind of gave us a quick one there.
I just saw a note on Nextdoor that they're having a meeting to discuss what to do in Montara about traffic and things to ensure the safety of children walking or riding their bikes to school. And it's going to be a special meeting, as I recall. So go to the MCC website and look it up, but it's about traffic safety. They're talking about things like sidewalks and other things.
And when is that meeting?
Next week.
I don't know. They're going to start with sidewalks and then what?
Sidewalks and stop signs, and pretty soon it'll, I just think we should get rid of cars. No traffic between 8 and 9 a.m.
We could do it like they're doing in Golden Gate Park, right?
Yeah.
Just take big chunks of it and open it to pedestrians and bicycles and skateboards and scooters and commission some great artwork. We have a terrific assortment of artists here in Montara, Moss Beach. Okay, let's go to the CSDA and/or LAFCO reports.
Very little happened at the CSDA.
Oh, that's okay. We got, let's go see if Christine has anything for us. Attorney's report.
Thank you, Director Boyd. I have no report, but I would like to make a statement regarding Director Slater Carter's potential conflict of interest for closed session item related to the real property negotiations, and she will be recusing herself and disengage from the Zoom meeting when that item is heard.
Okay, thank you, Christine. Let's see, any director's reports?
Yes. At the Chamber of Commerce meeting last night, or candidates forum, I happened to be sitting on the up with the candidates because of my candidacy, but one of the questions came up about what to do on traffic on the coast. I suggest watching it, but I'll tell you briefly that one of the candidates did not quite know anything and she punted. The other said he would consider roundabouts. Consider roundabouts. Something this community has been working on for 20 years. So when it got to me my time, I mentioned that Montara can't do much about, Montara Water and Sanitary can't do much about traffic. But then I launched because I said, we need the Laura, the female candidate for the Board of Supervisors, as I recall, mentioned somebody having gotten killed last week and again, or a couple of weeks ago. And I launched and I just said, Harold was a very, very important person to our community. And he was killed by a lack of planning on the part of the county. And this has been going on for 20 years. And I said, and I took a liberty, so you can certainly correct me, but I said, Montara is going to be leading a movement with the Board of Supervisors and the other agencies on the coast to get speed limit reduced and to get roundabouts put in. And if necessary, we will ensure that at least in our jurisdiction, the safety and traffic mitigations that are put on on big projects by the county do need to be implemented. They can't be just forgiven. Our community, our children, our friends, our families are all at risk. So I did take the liberty of volunteering Montara to be the leader on this, but somebody's got to do it, because if we just wait on county staff, nothing's going to happen and we're going to lose more people.
Well, I think that was I don't think that was anything but the right kind of takeaway from what you heard expressed by everyone here at the last meeting.
Good.
And I think you make a fine point. And for people who don't know, projects have been built that had conditions for taking care of safety mitigations on the highway that have never been implemented. And somebody's got to watchdog that. And even if we can't legislate it, we can sure keep an eye on it, talk about it, make sure people know about it. That's just a starting point. We can do that.
Thank you.
Any other director reports?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I've received an email from Greg Gigas just today. He presented me with some numbers that shows how most agencies, including ours, are underfunded when it comes to reserves for future infrastructure projects. And one of these days, he would like to come and make a presentation showing us the numbers and explaining.
Okay. Let's see. So here, anything to capture for future agendas?
There's still a general manager's report.
Oh, I have it highlighted to tell me do that thing next.
Okay.
I don't even look at my own highlights. Thank you, Clemens.
I just wanted to get back to what Catherine said at the very beginning. She pointed to the hybrid meeting that Coastside County Water District did. We have an understanding now from the governor that the emergency declaration for COVID is running out on February 28th. So by end of February, we need to have a plan in place on how to continue these meetings. That's basically the conclusion of this the emergency declaration going away, that all agencies now have to wrap their minds around how to conduct meetings going forward. So we will bring this to the board and discuss appropriately, of course. Thank you.
Catherine, I see your hand.
Yeah, future agendas. As you guys may or may not recall, I have been going on and on about inflation and the problems for special districts that are coming with projects and everything else. I would like to have an agenda item with a presentation by our economist about the effects of inflation and or stagflation and or recession on what special districts can do for their planning. I think that this is something that is going to be, even if the inflation stopped now, our budget is already 8% behind. We have to figure out how to plan and how to work on this. There are a number of papers online, but I think our public also needs to understand about this. And frankly, I'm going to ask to have the Harbor District and I'm going to ask to have Sam do it as well. We've got to be able to get this information out to the public because they're going to go, what? You're raising my rates and my income and my effective income has gone down. You can't do that. We have to be training our population and our public to understand that their system, their water and sewer system here is an essential quality of life issue. And we're doing our best to educate them and to keep this running at a sound, solid level. And look for advice on where to go and what kind of decision making we should be doing.
Now, we've mentioned this in the past with the rate study that we were supposed to have in place by now. And I haven't heard yet about the rate study, but I know it's coming.
And I think it would
Clemens would like to make a note of that, the rate
Yeah,
study.
right. Yes, I'm just thinking, I mean, Catherine asked for our economists, so I think this is a great start off for this topic, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's rather than coming from us, I'd like a good look at the industry and at special districts. So thank you.
Okay. Checking the room. Okay. We are going to take a recess, after which we'll reconvene in closed session. On the agenda for closed session, we have the existing litigation with City of Half Moon Bay suing the rest of the coastside agencies. Conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, one potential case, existing litigation, MWSD versus the Dow Chemical Company. And then conference with real property negotiators under Government Code 54956.8 regarding property 770 Hart Street here in Montara. Okay, with that, let's take about a 5-minute recess, come back at 8:16. And with that, we thank the members of the public for joining us and for your participation, your interest, and we look forward to seeing and hearing from you next time.
Night, guys.
Good night. Thanks.